my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white, yeah, it's black and white, we're just black and white, it's my black and white, it's my black and white scarf.
Hello, and you're very welcome to the Town End podcast. It's season 5, episode 29. Well, it was a bit of a roller coaster in Oriel tonight as Dundalk drew 3-3 with Kerry in a game where Dundalk will feel deeply, deeply disappointed. One, to have given away the goal today, but also to only come away with a draw. Well, he only comes in for the bangers, really, doesn't he? Please welcome back to the podcast, Steph McKevitt. Steph, how are you?
Hiya, Christopher. How's things?
We're cruising to victories. You can't just come in for the easy ones. You come in for the tough games, Steph.
No, the longer it went on, then I was thinking they'll just think I'm just joining when the times are good. So, Gally shied away from coming on when it gets tough. So I said I've picked up the slack. There wasn't enough nonsense being talked on the show of late. So that's why you called me back in.
Absolutely. Steph, where do we even start on this one? Just your overall thoughts on that game tonight. It's a roller coaster, but even when you pick up a point after coming from behind, it still feels hollow, doesn't it?
Yeah. Look, I think, no offense to Kerry or anything, and they have improved massively in the last couple of weeks. Colin Healy's putting a stamp on the team, and the cup run speaks for itself. But yeah, it's disappointing. You probably chalk this one down as an easy victory. When you're looking over the last couple of weeks and how we're racking up the wins, look, you're always going to have an off night, or a bad day at the office. But yeah, look, when you take the goals that we conceded, that alone, you're just saying, they just don't want to see them again. They're that poor goals to give up that there'll be a few boys not sleeping well tonight, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, look, if you're jumping on the highlights anyway, you won't get to see them all. So that's the good news.
Yeah, some boys will be happy with that as well.
I suppose he rang the changes in. Andy Parashef starting. It seemed like a game from the outset that it was going to kind of suit Andy, but it didn't really turn into that. It seemed like they were absorbing a bit of pressure, and then when it needed to, Kerry, they were pouncing, and we were giving them those opportunities even in the first half.
Yeah, I don't want to say it was very lackadaisical, but yeah, you'd imagine, like, Kieran Clough would have thought about this really hard and thought it was the perfect game to bring Andy in at this stage. And we've been dominating possession, and he's so technically good that you think he'd be running that sort of game tonight. But yeah, it just didn't materialize. There was it got a bit frantic at times, and we've a couple of half efforts before the sucker punch of the first goal. But yeah, like, Luke Mulligan comes in, he's been out injured, and it's straight into the firing line, and it's tough on him because he's still young and he doesn't have that many senior appearances behind him. Like, so it's a tough one to come into. You're looking at it going, it should be an easy game, but yeah, you have to say, like, from the last time we've seen them, or the last couple of times we've seen them, they've definitely stepped up in quality. They're always going to get better. And look, Colin Healy, vast amounts of experience. He obviously is a quality coach and manager as well. So, okay, yourself, you have to respect everyone in this league. But just the way we were just striking off wins the last couple of weeks, and then obviously you have the big win against Treaty as well. You just think you're just going to keep rolling in with the momentum. But yeah, it's a difficult one to take when you look at the mistakes and just how we reacted to certain things as well.
Yeah, like you say, it's how we react to things, and maybe not reacting enough was our downfall for that first goal, because it just seemed like there was ample opportunities to cut that ball out. And we seem to elude, well, the players seem to elude, TNC to elude every challenge that we put in. Even when we tried to take him down for a penalty, he stayed on the feet and he got his just rewards, I suppose, in the end.
Yeah. Look, I think it's from their perspective, they're probably going to say it's a good goal, but when you're analysing it from the defensive point of view, it's not just one or two of them. There's 3 or 4 you could probably pick out that don't do their jobs correctly, and it's just a catalog of errors for it. And that gives them a bit of impetus to say, look, we can get something from this game, and it probably gives them that confidence that the game plan they've set up, it's gone perfectly to that point. It's a tough one to take because we've probably not been behind much at all this season, really. When you look back through the games, there's not been that many times, and how are we going to react to it? So look, I think there's a few boys going to be looking at video analysis of each of the goals individually and going, yeah, I could have definitely done better in that instance.
Yeah, and I think that's it exactly. I think they'll end up looking back at it and saying there's so many chances we can't cut that out and do something about it. But it's, yeah, we found ourselves, behind to Longford, behind in Athlone as well. Us going behind to teams sometimes at home, it's not something we should be completely alien to, because we've seen this so many times. But it still didn't really give us that wake up call till just before half time, I suppose, when Ben comes in and wins the penalty. Both of us are a bit unsure whether it was a penalty or not. He seems to break the offside trap, comes tumbling in on goal, gets a deflection up, or it takes a shot, comes back, isn't it? And loops back in.
Like he's clever because he sort of gives the defender a wee nudge as he's going back towards his own goal, and you sort of see him lose his balance, and then he tries to head the ball back. And look, yourself, when you're on that surface, you don't know what way the ball's going to bounce or land, and defender just drops it totally short, and he nips round, and you're thinking, just lift it over the keeper now. And look, you've seen it plenty of times before, where a keeper leaves one late and a striker after the ball goes dead, and you 9 times out of 10 you don't get anything for it. But you just look at the Premier League last weekend, and there's some of the keepers leaving late ones on strikers and getting away with it. But fortunately for us, it's landed in our favour. I'd say you'd probably take the side of the goalkeeper in that one. But yeah, look, you need a bit of luck as well, and thankfully Darryl stuck it away. It was a great penalty right in the corner, and the keeper dived the right way, and it still goes in. So it's a sign of a good penalty. And look, Darryl's been on a rich vein of form, scoring a hat-trick last week, and he was confident enough to send it home. It was a great penalty, and it got us right back into it. But we didn't have too much time to celebrate, unfortunately.
No, so 60 seconds later, we go and concede, and that's going to really annoy Kieran and Ken, isn't it? Because to not play great, but get yourself back in just before half time, you got to see that one out. You got to get back into the dressing room, and we've seen them ring the changes. We've seen them get a bollocking or whatever happens at half time and come out a completely different team. But if that had been a draw at half time, you would say you'd never give up on this team or anything like that. But to concede that lead just before half time, and once again, it's a very defendable goal. The ball makes its way out wide. Darryl probably needs to close the cross down a little bit earlier, but between Vinny and Mayowa, no one seemed to pick up the man running through Cleary through the middle, and he gets in front of Mayowa and scoops the header straight in. And once again, another defendable goal, though.
Yeah, and look, the lads are been around the block a long time now, and they'll know that that's the sort of chances we've cut the cross off previously, or we've defended the box well, heading clear or getting blocks, and they'll be disappointed themselves that they weren't able to defend it. And look, it gives them another bit of confidence, and it's a bad time to concede just before half time. And look, I think Kieran's probably looked at it. He's brought on a bit of experience in Wardy and O'Keefe, and trying to shore up the defence and control the game a bit more. Wardy coming on at half time, and look, I think Mayo's been brilliant most of the season, and I don't think it's a reflection on his performances throughout the year. But Kieran and Ken, obviously, you can't hold on to sentiment either. If somebody's having a bad game or is under pressure, it's just not their night. Take them out, get somebody else in, and it's just whatever's best for the team at the time. And look, 2-1 down at half time, and then we come back and draw the game. So you have to say, especially with Wardy's performance, he was vindicated in some of the substitutions anyway.
Any word on Wardy's new haircut?
I think he's going the same barber as myself now, to be honest with you. When he first came out, I was like, is that bleach blonde hair? Or surely not at his age, he's dyeing his hair. But yeah, I like it. He was definitely running faster anyway. That's as soon as I shaved my head, I could run faster.
Like Wardy seemed to be getting in and putting that influence onto the game straight away. Peach of a cross in that only Wardy can ever deliver that sort of a ball in. You're looking for that impact straight from a substitute. You're looking for that impact from all the substitutes to get back into this match and get Dundalk back in it. We go and get ourselves back in there. Peach of a cross in, and there's Daryl Horgan all over again.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it started from O'Keefe or Leonard. I think it might have been O'Keefe played the long ball, and Kenny flicks it on to Ruby, and then it's recycled. But yeah, it's a cracking cross. It's sort of, I don't like, it reminds me of Darren Meenan so much. It's like he crosses it, but when he crosses it, he's lifting his leg at the same time, and it just gets that bend and dip on it. Nightmare for defenders trying to defend it. But yeah, it's a cracking cross, and that's exactly what they were looking for. Just get straight back into them. And
and straight back into is exactly what Kerry did.
Yeah, and look, we didn't learn our lesson either. And it's a turnover in midfield, and nobody's quick enough to close the shot. But yeah, look, I think Beno's going to be disappointed in himself again there. It's twice or three times this season possibly that there's sort of been long shots that maybe get deflections, and it just looks very poor when you're watching it. Like I don't know, it just seems like it's a really, really preventable goal, very savable. I'm in no shape or form to be talking about goalkeepers and how they should be saving the ball, but someone of his caliber, like he's gonna be very angry at himself, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think for I think probably two of the goals tonight, and they won't be happy with. The one just before half time. I think it's a hanging ball in. By the time he gets out to it, it's too low. He's out trying to fist it. You got to get to that ball earlier and get to the ball at its highest point. That's what you're taught. But when you're waiting for the ball to land and it's in at that height, you're allowing the defender, or you're allowing the attacker, should I say, to challenge you for that. And that's where he'll be disappointed. In the third one, it seems like it's right down the barrel. We've seen it once or twice. Perhaps it's the surface or something. It's hard to know, but it seems to kind of go through him. It's one you want to be reinforced with your body behind it. Just get something on it to push it away, but he just gets all his angles and everything all wrong on it, and it it won't be nice viewing back on Monday anyway. In the video analysis, it's going to hurt to see that, and knowing that he's probably let the lads down as well, and that's going to hurt a bit as well. But it's yeah, it's just disappointing. It's disappointing. I think like I say, we've probably seen that goal a couple of times this year as well. There's a bit of work to be done, maybe on Enda on his angles or something like that. But like I say, it's long range shots and that, and it's bouncing in front of him, and he's not reacting fast enough. Perhaps he's just not used to the pitch or something. Very hard to know, but yeah, it's disappointing in that sense. But come at the hour, come at the man. Or he comes to save us once more.
Yeah, definitely. I think Darrell cuts in from the left, and when he comes into those sort of areas, it's alarm bells for the other team. You don't know whether he's going to get a shot or lay something off, and yeah, it gets recycled out to Wardy again, where he's sitting in the pocket, where he does all his best work, and there's a 1-2, and then I think it's a bit of a 1-2 off the defender first, and then he gets it into. I think Arubi's still on the pitch at that stage, and
yeah,
he managed to lift it over the keeper, and yeah, like look, it's another one. He gets himself into the right areas when he sits in that pocket and he starts playing crosses into the box, or he's playing little 1-2s. Like that's the key word. Like in 5 or 10 years, people are going to be talking about that played in Oriel Park. That's when he was at his best. When he was running the show there for the second half, and his quality's undeniable. And it's a great lift over the keeper. Probably Ruby's probably trying to do that in the first half, maybe different angle and stuff like that. But yeah. Look, I'm sure he's delighted to come on and make a positive impact and have a real good effect on the result, and another point towards hopefully claiming the title.
Don't you start? I think Gally jinxed us last week with this talk of it's in the bag. Yeah, exactly. Bubbling along like a fine soup. Is it just disappointing then, Steph, that we cannot push on and find that winner? It seemed like Kerry had just done, banks of 5 across and just buried themselves in the trenches and tried to knock out every long cross. We've seen probably Norman Garbutt pop up in good positions, but just the end delivery probably just needed a bit more work, perhaps a little bit of rustiness from lack of game time. But we seem to be peppering in crosses with no real end product at the end of them. Yeah,
Garbutt, electric, serious turn of pace over a few yards. He just glides away from people. But yeah, like I think he's going to look back as well and be very disappointed with his final product, whether it was running balls over the end line, and like if he had kept that one in, it's a stonewall penalty if the ball doesn't go out. Some of his cross and then decision making, he switched over to the right at one stage, cut in his left, and has a shot from 25 yards on a very, very bad angle that just trickles harmlessly wide. And you're sort of saying, try and, if you are going to have a shot, maybe put it to the back post and someone can get on the end of it, maybe even cause a bit of confusion in there. But yeah, like some of the decision making, just wasn't there. And look, yeah, I suppose you have to give him some sort of a pass. He's been out injured for so long, but you just see how easily he glides past people, and his footwork seems to be very, very good. So you're just waiting, because the build-up's so good, you're just waiting for the perfect cross, or even, just a bit, just better all round. You can see why people, get excited when he comes onto the pitch and what he can do. But yeah, if he can just, improve that end product, like you said, he'd be frightening. Even looking forward to when he gets up into running as well. gets more minutes under his belt, then you'd like to think that that'll improve as well.
It seemed like Kieran was ready to throw the kitchen sink at it then, Rowan Vaughan, Dean Ebbe all coming on. It just seemed like he was emptying the bench of any forward options in the hope that something landed to someone. But it just seemed like every time there was a chance coming, it just wouldn't fall to a Dundalk player.
Yeah, and look, you have to commend Kerry. They defended the box well, and they seem to be in the right place at the right time, or getting the last ditch tackle, putting stuff out for throw-ins and corners. And yeah, look, they were a bit frantic at the end. They were swiping at balls, but look, that's all they needed to do. They just had to see it through whatever way possible. But you probably, if we had a got the goal, if Ebbe or Vaughan gets the goal, then everyone's saying, a couple of brilliant substitutions. But on the other hand, when we don't get the goal or even get the chances, I think Vaughan might have had a shot that was blocked by a Kerry defender. You're sort of saying, Ruby did look like, I know he was limited to chances or whatever, but he does have that goal in him, and look, maybe keep him on. You're nitpicking at this stage, and then you're probably looking at taking off Kenny or Hogan earlier and keeping Ebbe on. But the form they've been on, it would be hard to take either of them off. Even like they were still playing and contributing in the game as well. So when it doesn't go a manager's way, everyone's pointing the finger and making question marks about it. And if it does, then you're the hero. So look, it's not always going to go your way. But I think the consensus that I got from a few people that I was talking to sort of said, just leave Ruby on and just actually go for it. But look, we're not the manager of the team top of the league, so we'll leave it to those who know best.
Yeah. It's one of them nights, like I say. I think he's probably rolling the dice off the bench. He's had that impact before. We've seen, probably Ruby's kicked off his Dundalk career being that impact sub coming off, and we've seen even Ebbe coming off the bench there recently and being proactive. And of course, Vaughan comes in the Captain Chaos that he is, and we've seen him have big impacts as well. So I suppose you roll the dice and you see what you can get off it. It's one of them, like you just said, probably if you were doing shots block counter, it was probably going into triple figures, because it just seemed like everything we were hitting. But just due to weight of numbers, probably that Kerry had behind the ball in the dying embers of that match, they were just putting everything on the line. Because I think last year, they were 28 points, and they were going into that on the same level of points that they had already amassed so far this year. So they've already gone one better. So you could see that it was on the line for those players to prove that they are also improving year on year.
Yeah, and look, for Kerry, just in the infancy as a club, like to come up to a historic ground like Oriel Park and get a result of any kind is going to be massive for them. Like, I'm sure the players, the staff, supporters that have travelled, everyone involved, that'll be massive to go up to the league leaders. The rich history that Dundalk Football Club has, like to go here and pick up a point, like they'll see that as another milestone. I know you've talked about the points they've amassed and comparing it to last season, and like they keep beating their totals. And look, they seem to be building a little bit down there as well, which is great to see. I know the Dundalk lads love the away trips down there, the couple of away trips that went on down there, and it's great to see another club making a name for themselves. Just unfortunate that they decided to turn up tonight and be excellent all over the park, so fair play to them. They've definitely improved from what the couple of times I've seen them previously this season.
Yeah, we come away with the point there. We have lost ground. Is also the disappointing thing. We've lost ground after a 3-0 victory for Cove tonight. probably trying to keep that 8-point lead. It was going to be hard anyway. Do you feel that this is giving that little bit of impetus back to Cove to show that it's not insurmountable? I suppose their whole goal is to get this to the last game of the season, for the game down in St. Coleman's Park. But from our point of view, if you're Kieran and Ken, like, do you just accentuate that you're still the one, you want the points on the board, if you know what I mean? That's what you're looking for going into this, is to still have a 6-point lead with 7 games to go. That's what points on the board is the most important.
Yeah, and look, any team I was ever involved in, like, the whole focus on the management team, it'd be like warning you away from looking at tables and concentrating on this. And look, there's no doubt that players will be looking at tables, and after teams won or lost or change points, you'll be looking at a league table. But look, as soon as tonight's result's done, then you're looking to the next game, and it's full focus on that. You're not building up each day towards that kickoff, going, look, we're only 6 points now. We have to win. We have to win. We're only 6 points, and you can let that creep into you. And it's happened many a team that have been out in front for so long, and next of all the gap closes a little bit, and there's panic stations set. But there's too much experience with Kieran being around professional football for so long, and Ken's very knowledgeable and has been around the game an awful long time himself, from top to bottom in all sort of levels of football as well. So okay, I can't see too much being made of, we dropped 2 points tonight. It'll be dust yourself down and fully focus on the next one, and that's important, because you can't be going looking 2-3 games ahead. It's the running, the cup finals gonna get thrown out there, like the pressure's on Cove to keep winning, because they have to close the gap. If they're only picking up one, or they're losing, like they had a big knockback, losing 2-0 a couple of weeks ago, or last week was it? And you're just thinking, you always think, on the negative side of things, when, like, I'm sure they were saying, look, we're done and dusted, we'll never catch Dundalk now at this stage, and 1 week later, here we are saying, oh, we've only 6 points. We probably would have snapped our hand off for it, of course, at the start of the season. And look, it's all about perspective, and we've done so well. We've after chalking off so many wins in a row, and look, it's a draw tonight. It's not a loss either. So, lots of positives, and even more improvements to be made.
Yeah. Before we go in, and we'll talk about preparation coming up for that Wexford match, which is Dundalk's next match in the league. Go back to tonight, Steph. Who stood out for you tonight?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of players, that have been really standout for the last couple of months, and even since the season started, probably had off nights, and some people coming in looking to make a name for themselves probably just didn't happen for them. But, like, if you're looking at Daryl Hogan, lead by example, scored a couple of goals, stepped up for the penalty. He has to be up there tonight. I thought, like, for Wardy to come on at half time and totally dominate the game, like, it's probably a toss up between those two. There was a couple other decent performances, but I think Ward probably just coming on, assisting and scoring, and sort of turning the tide a little bit, just shades it over Daryl Hogan, to be honest with you. You were highlighting to me how you should have closed the cross down for the second goal. So Daryl can blame you for me giving Wardy the nod for it. But yeah, like, I thought, look, his quality when he came on was evident, and then the chip in with an assist and a goal, even though Daryl's got 2. It's probably harsh on Daryl not to get it scoring 2, but yeah, I think without Wardy coming on and giving us that bit extra, then I think we might end up losing the game tonight, so I'm going to give it to Wardy for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I think for matching your haircut, is it?
We twin.
No, I think exactly that. Though I think if you're from your substitute, you're probably looking for an impact to come in. Clearly, Wardy's probably been in, Kieran's ear. I'd say that whole first half and a halftime. Gaffer, let me in there. Go on, let's in there. I'll make an impact. But actually, when he comes on and does that, he puts that cross in to get us back level early in that match as well, which gives us the full hold to go and eventually get the draw and to go and get that one. And he seemed to be that bright spark in that second half as well. Like when he got on it, it's always forward play with him. He's looking to do something a little bit different as well, like on the build up to his goal, like loop the ball up and that, like that's peak Wardy really when you think about it. So yeah, for me as well, just with a massive impact on the game. I'm happy to roll in behind you there on the Wardy. I think Jason Crawley here has said that Tom Crawley has gone for Wardy as well. So I think that has to go to Tom. I think on judging by that, I think Tom has won the pizza tonight. So congratulations, Tom. You are the winner of our 15-inch pizza from Tony's Pizzeria. So get on to Vinny and the lads there, and there's a pizza on us. And of course, thanks also to everyone in Tony's Pizzeria, because keep an eye across their socials, I would say, over the next wee while, because they always like to back us in our sponsored jerseys that we have. Obviously, they're on the sleeves for ourselves, but our charity jersey that we have for this year. So just keep an eye across them. I'm sure Vinny and Angela are going to have plenty going on across that over the next wee while. So there might be a chance for anyone who did miss out on the jerseys to get your hands on one still. So do keep your eyes peeled to Tony's Pizzeria's social media over the next wee while. I mentioned it already, Steph. Wexford away next in the league. I'm saying that because I'm not 100% certain what's even happening with the Leinster Senior Cup these days. We could be playing Bows. Who knows on that? But what we do know is we are playing Wexford away next in the league. It's been the scene of that impressive late comeback, that 3-2 victory down in Wexford before. I'd take that all over again just to get those 3 points and to come back up the road with them and hopefully have our lead still intact. That's probably the most important thing right now.
Yeah, I think the 3 points is the only thing that is important, bar picking up injuries or suspensions, touch wood. I think that's like you can put a line through performances now at this stage. Like if someone's offering you 3 points, it's no brainers. Take the 3 points and get out of town. Like Wexford probably been inconsistent this year, and but they've picked up points against big sides as well. So kind of they've a couple of quality players as well, like Aaron Dobbs and
Mikey Rowe
is up there in the charts. Like he's one of the players that when you come up against him, you're always thinking he's going to do something against your side, and you'd rather him in your team than against you. He just has that bit of class, and he can finish a ball. And yeah, been impressed with him. You always pick out 3 or 4 players dotted around the league and in different sides that you'd be like, I'd like to see him at Dundalk in the future. But yeah, it's a nice wee pitch down there. It should suit us. We've done a lot of. We've played it very well away from home at different stages. I think grass pitches might suit us better than the Oriel Park surface at times. So yeah, I'm sure. Look, I'm sure some of the indoor players will probably be happy enough to get away from some of the noise at home, and it might be just a release of a bit of pressure there tonight. Pushing for a win or not getting it, but I'm sure it'll be well drilled into them. you need to not lose concentration. I think it was probably a big one. Like they say, that's when you hit a team is when they score. So to do it twice in one game, I'm sure it'll be they'll be hammered into them all week up until kickoff. But yeah, I think it'll be full focus on that, whether that Leinster Senior Cup game happens or not. I think there'll be just a main focus on the Wexford game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it's funny because Cove are going across, I suppose, to Kerry on the same night. So if Kerry were to do something similar like they done with us tonight, maybe the point tonight breeds them a little bit of confidence to go and believe that they can get something at home to Cove next Friday as well on that. Perhaps we can get something from that.
Yeah, look, their tails will be up after getting something in Oriel Park. They'll be thinking, why can't we take something off the team that's 6 points behind them? So especially at home, and yeah, like you like to think that they'll put it up to them anyway. So and then just see where the result lands, and hopefully it's a positive one for Kerry as well as us picking up 3 points and going back up the road.
I suppose in other news this week, Ed Irvin has signed a contract extension as well. How important it is, do you think, to the club to start building to the future as well?
Yeah, I think it's massive. It's always a bit of a peculiar one when you're in this position and you're sort of in limbo. Kieran's probably talking to players that's nearly out of contract, with a view to the Premier Division, but you don't want to get ahead of yourself as well, but you need to plan for that. So look, I'm sure there's plenty of work being done in the background. It's good that this has been announced and there is that stability for players thinking, right, I'm going to be around here. I think it was it a 2-year deal?
Yeah,
that was signed. Yeah, 2-year deal. So gives the player a bit of stability. Obviously, he's committed to Dundalk as much as Dundalk's committed to him now as well. So, it's a good news story all around. Like I know he's probably, I don't know if feel like saying it, but he's probably a cult hero around Dundalk. He's a lot of people's favorite player, and you can't fault the effort, the desire. Some of his passing there tonight was excellent. I think he created the chance for Ruby for the penalty. So, some of his long balls there tonight was on the money. So yeah, I think there's a good few shots tonight and plenty of weeks from being man the match. So look, you definitely can't begrudge him getting a new deal. And obviously he's vice captain, so he's thought very, very highly by the management team. So you can't question those boys at the minute for the season they've had and the decision making. They've obviously, there's been a lot of thought behind everything they've done so far and building the squad and getting the right characters in, and everything's just gone so well so far. A few hiccups in the road like tonight, but yeah, for them to start looking to the future, usually like how many seasons did we sit here and we're saying Stephen O'Donnell hasn't the squad, he's nobody signed yet, there's nobody renewed. You're sort of like in limbo and you're waiting for things to happen. So for someone to get renewed this early out, you'd like to think there's a few people next in line to get done as well. So yeah, it's all positive news. I'm sure everyone's really happy with it.
Yeah, I think from chatting to him, it definitely feels that Ed Irvin has a bit of unresolved issues with Dundalk Football Club in the Premier Division. He had that unfortunate record at the end of last year when everything was going. Yeah, we didn't really talk about it that much.
I didn't mention it.
Yeah, so it's something I'm sure he'd love to put right, and the only way to do that is, I suppose, to to kick on and bring Dundalk back to the Premier Division. It's a massive thing, though, I think, as well, for a lot of those players to come in here, because like we think back at Dundalk Football Club and we think back of all the success, more recent success there under, Stephen Kenny and that before. But you only go back a little bit more, like, we had many of the legends of Dundalk in here. That all can only ignite again if we get promotion. So like this team, very much like yourselves, Steph, when you got promoted back to the Premier League, like everyone remembers those players that got us there as well. You're part of that story, aren't you? And it must be a massive drive for the current players to be able to be talked of like that to Dundalk fans, because unless you get this promotion back, you don't get written into history.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm sure they've fed off the buzz of even, the title charge and the players that was there last season, and how bad and how dark it got at times, with different things that happen, and the club coming together and the supporters fully back in the club and back in the players, and just how the season's gone from the opening day win right to this point. Like, I'm sure there's feeding off the energy, the crowd, being in and around town, probably walking uptown, getting photos taken with kids and big kids as well. And look, you even see it when you're in the ground, and there's the players warming up and all the kids are sitting on the wall looking for a high five, and it makes the kids day. Like, as a player, that's the sort of, you're inspiring the next generation pretty much, and they're looking, going, it is a dream for them at whatever age they are, that I want to be out in that picture when I'm older, and I want to be representing my town, and the next generation looking at me then. So look, it feeds off itself. And yeah, look, if they want to write themselves into the history books as well, that bodes well for the club. So they've done everything. They've done everything perfectly up to this, and they just need to get over the last few hurdles, and then we'll start worrying about history books and celebrations. But yeah, look, you can't fault any of them. The way it's been going, and they all seem to be a close knit squad. A lot of young lads in there, and they're belying their years, really. The performance they're putting in, and I'm sure there's boys on the bench, really wanting to be involved there. But hopefully, if the chance does come, then they can grasp that as well. But look, we're probably getting ahead of ourselves talking about titles and everything else. But yeah, look, they've put themselves in that position. We were all hopeful, more than confident of really charging for this title. I know bookies, odds and whatever suggest that we would be favourites, but we seen how it nearly fell apart last year. So we're on the other side of that now, hopefully, and we just keep driving on towards the finish line.
Yeah, we won't bring out any celebratory soup just yet. Like I say, it's probably
keep it bubbling nicely.
Like I say, it's the old cliche, but there's probably 7 cup finals to happen just before that. And just before we finish up for tonight as well, just obviously the sad news broke this week with the passing of Ollie Horgan. Ollie, he was just one of them characters in this league. You definitely hear him before you'd see him at any football match, and he'd be a huge loss to Irish football.
Yeah, massive. What a big character. He's probably been the biggest character the league's had the last 10, 15 years, however long it is. Yeah, like, I don't think there's anybody that didn't like him. Everyone talks so fondly of him. The one or two chats I had with him myself, a proper gent, knew the game inside out. Everything was just, he was just a character, larger than life sort of character. So yeah, it's terribly sad. A lot of people will have been affected by it. It's a terrible tragedy and a massive loss. I think the last couple of years obviously been with Galway, and obviously massive part of the Finn Hops history as well. You know, being involved in the promotion and some of the late winners, and you know, just an icon and the throwback, the word legend, an awful lot. But you know, he's definitely up there in that category for me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. As I say, a larger than life character. You know, just whatever you thought about him, he was just like his football knowledge and his brain, like it never stopped. You
Yeah,
could go to an underage a school boys football match anywhere around the country, and you could chances are you would see Ollie Horgan there because he
yeah,
just seemed to live, breathe, and everything to do with football. Like so, it's a huge loss. A huge loss to football, a huge loss to League of Ireland, you know, and it just obviously we're thinking of Ollie and his family at this time. Right, Steph, we'll go on. You're just shy of your 50-minute wonder of a show. But look, I think we've gone through everything. That's probably the most important thing is that Dundalk just get on with these next 7 matches and try their best to keep this lead. Like you just said, Steph, probably if we could have picked and choose to be in this situation at the start of the season, we would have taken hand and all for it because it's still within our grasp of everything, and it's all up to ourselves and you know and this team to get them over the line. And whatever way these victories or results can come over the next few weeks, that's probably the most important thing. We'll be back as always after the Wexford match. So until then, come on the town.
My black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white, yeah, it's black and white, we're just black and white, it's my black and white, it's my black and